Stephanie Lambert, Bill Wantland, Tim Poplin.
Here.
Dee Patterson.
Here.
John Kramer.
Here.
Chris Anson.
Here.
Larry Church.
Here.
Corey Crabtree. Jeff Griffin.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Consideration and action of consent agenda.
Move to approve.
Second. Roll call, please.
Stephanie, Tim Poplin.
Yes.
Dee Patterson.
Yes.
John Kramer.
Yes.
Chris Anson.
Yes.
Larry Church.
Yes.
Jeff Griffin.
Yes.
Motion passes.
With no items removed from the consent agenda, we'll move on to, are there any appearances or petitions from the audience for the Seminole Airport Board? Okay, with none, we'll move on to current business. Item 1, consideration and possible action to approve the professional services agreement by and between Clearwater Environmental Services, Inc., relative to the environmental services required to comply with petroleum storage tank rules and regulations.
Okay, so we obviously have had the Corporation Commission take a look at our tanks. They're saying that there are definitely some leaks there. The good news is that we feel like that it can be remedied fairly cheap. The fact that there are no other surrounding property owners gives us a lot of leeway in that. And they have a fund set up at the Corporation Commission that only requires us to pay 1% of the remediation. So I think we're going to get out of that in the neighborhood of $5,000, probably no more than $10,000. We will have to set up a monitoring well that will be monitoring the situation after we take the tank out, make sure that nothing is going on there. So that's what we're asking for you to approve tonight.
So on, I read the contract. So, professional services, they will do the work, or are they gonna do the engineering?
Yeah, this is just the study.
Okay,
They'll come
So
back
they're
with a
gonna do testing.
recommendation on how to remediate,
okay.
and then we'll work with the Corporation Commission on the contract.
So how did am I right in saying that the Corporation Commission, they go around and test tanks?
Yes,
And this is how they found the leak?
apparently.
Sure.
Is DEQ involved in it or just the Corporation Commission?
For now, just the Corporation
If we
Commission.
don't take care of it, the DEQ will be in the middle of it probably.
I can't say no, but that's not really their lane in this. It's more the Corporation Commission, since it's hydrocarbon. They're much better at knowing how to remediate. So I suspect it's gonna stay with the Corporation Commission.
Have an item on the table. Motion to approve.
Second.
Roll call, please, Jay.
Tim Poplin.
Yes.
Dee Patterson.
Yes.
John Kramer.
Yes.
Chris Anson.
Yes.
Larry Church.
Yes.
Jeff Griffin.
Yes.
Motion passes.
I would entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we'll move on to the Seminole Gas Authority. Roll call, please, Jay.
John Kramer.
Here.
Tim Poplin.
Here.
Dee Patterson.
Here.
Bill Wantland. Corey Crabtree. Stephanie Lambert. Larry Church.
Yes.
Chris Anson.
Here.
Jeff Griffin.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Consideration and action of consent agenda.
So moved. Second.
Roll call, please, Jay.
John Kramer.
Yes.
Tim Poplin.
Yes.
Dee Patterson.
Yes.
Larry Church.
Yes.
Chris Anson.
Yes.
Jeff Griffin.
Yes.
Motion passes.
With no items removed from the consent agenda, are there any appearances or petitions from the audience for the Seminole Gas Authority? With none, and with no current business, I would entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, we'll move on to the Seminole Utilities Authority. Roll call, please.
Dee Patterson.
Here.
John Kramer.
Here.
Chris Anson.
Here.
Bill Wantland. Corey Crabtree. Tim Poplin.
Here.
Stephanie Lambert. Larry Church.
Sure.
Jeff Griffin.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Consideration and action of consent agenda.
Move to approve.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Dee Patterson,
Yes.
John Kramer,
Yes.
Chris Anson,
Yes.
Tim Hoffman,
Yes.
Larry Church,
Yes.
Jeff Griffin.
Yes.
Motion passes.
With no items removed from consent agenda, we'll move on to any appearances or petitions from the audience for the Utilities Authority. Okay, with none, we'll move on to current business. Item 1, discussion and possible action regarding pre-rehabilitation inspections and evaluations of water storage tanks within the city of Seminole.
Thank you, Mayor. We're asking that you allow us to engage Dunham Engineering for the purposes of inspecting and giving us a pre-rehabilitation report. Our hope is that they can take a look at and make sure that our water towers are in good shape. You'll recall that we kind of had a catastrophic failure on the Highland Water Tower several years ago. And it's much, much more expensive and inconvenient for our citizens if we allow it to degrade to that point. So we're being proactive and trying to get ahead of that and make sure that everything is doing well. I will mention that this was prompted by a photograph that was taken when they were installing our radios on the A Street Water Tower. They took a photograph of some rusted spots on top of the A Street Water Tower and sent it to me and said, hey, were you aware that this was up here? And I informed them that I had not climbed that tower recently and that we would get on it and get someone to come up there and inspect it. So my understanding is Larry Church is going to help them with that and get up on the A Street.
First thing in the morning.
Yeah, okay.
First thing in the morning.
But all kidding aside, this is a serious issue. We want to be proactive and make sure that we don't have any failure in those water towers. That's a primary thing that our citizens expect and should expect.
And I understand the contract, it's $3,000 for each.
Yes,
if
sir.
they do all 6, so it'd be a total of $18,000.
Yes, sir. And we are recommending all of them.
Well, I like proactive.
Motion approved.
Second.
Roll call, please, Jay.
Dee Patterson,
Yes.
John Kramer,
Yes.
Chris Anson,
Yes.
Tim Hoffman,
Yes.
Larry Church,
Yes.
Jeff Griffin.
Yes.
Motion passes.
I'd entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, call to order the Seminole City Council. Roll call, please, Jeff.
Chris Anson,
Here.
Dee Patterson,
Here.
Stephanie Lambert, Larry Church,
Here.
Tim Hoffman,
Here.
Bill Waltland, Corey Crabtree, John Kramer,
Here.
Jeff Griffin.
Here.
We have a quorum.
We'd stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dee, would you bring our prayer, please?
Let us pray together as Jesus taught us. Our Father, who
Lord
art
in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven.
give
Give
us
us this day our daily bread.
and
Forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us.
and lead
Lead
us
us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever. Amen.
Consideration and action of consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Chris Anson,
Yes.
Dee Patterson,
Yes.
Larry Church,
Yes.
Tim Hoffman,
Yes.
John Kramer.
Yes.
Motion passes.
There are no items removed from the consent agenda, so we'll move on to any appearances or petitions from the audience for the Seminole City Council.
I have something, Mr. Mayor. Some of the citizens of Ward 1 have established a committee called the Ward 1 Improvement Committee. And the aim is to enhance the circumstances of citizens of Ward One, in particular, in the city of Seminole in general. And at this time, I'd like to ask Ms. Stephanie Davis to give us an update on the committee's activities.
Hi, guys. Thanks for giving us just a minute. Larry and I have been talking about wanting to do kind of a park makeover in Chase Park, which is in our ward. And so we just kind of wanted to make sure that there wouldn't be any issues with the city. This is something that we're gonna take on the cost of and also the management of. So all we wanna do is, you know, make sure that we have your blessing, there won't be any insurance issues, and like what process you guys would like to see, whether it's working with the Parks Committee or Mike or anything like that. But I did bring some pictures of some of the ideas that we have if you guys are interested in looking at those. But it's gonna be based around like a natural landscape, so we're gonna have like some wood and sand and recycle some tires and that sort of thing. And again, no cost to the city whatsoever. This will be a Ward 1 project, and I'll be managing it, basically. And so hopefully we'll get some volunteers from like Action Community, and maybe do some fun-friendly activities out there shortly.
Would you show us those photos?
I would have to. Even did them in color, thanks to Larry. We have some for all of you guys. Here's a few. So this one I particularly like, which is like a planter, so that we can kind of make it a little pretty. Let's see, you guys, things like that for the guys to jump on, kids to play on.
We share, thank you.
Oh, perfect, that was a second. I have some more, but we don't wanna take up too much of the regular council time, because, you know, there'll be plenty of time to talk details if you guys.
Or would you like to give a copy?
Oh, yeah. The most important.
A copy to the boss of all.
You know?
So here's kind of some of the.
I love the idea of our citizens wanting to get involved and help improve the city and do those types of things. I do think it probably needs to run through the park board just to make sure that it's in line with what
Sure.
we typically do, but I think it's a great idea.
I agree.
Well, thank you for that.
You want
endorsement.
the permit application?
Yes, sir.
$5,000.
Okay. Just a little bit, okay. So we'll be able to come up with that.
She said Larry would cover it.
Yeah, once city council, we'll figure it
I'm
out.
all for improvement, but.
Yeah, but we, you know,
Yeah.
we'd like to see that park have a little bit of a makeover, and so that maybe.
You know,
some
they
people
make
start to
movies
see it
about
again,
that.
And kind of remember the great that it once was.
When do you, if everything's approved, and when are you planning on starting? When do you want to try to have it done?
So after the chocolate festival, for sure, but I'm thinking beginning of January, we put together some folks that can be committed to actually volunteering and doing the work, which Action Community Group will most likely, they've already basically given us a yes.
Get his phone number. He
And I would
is
like
the
your phone
park
number.
renovation guru.
Okay.
If you want, some help, I would reach out to your local Stucos too. I can help you out with that, I definitely can help. with
That would be amazing. Yes, we would love to involve the schools that are in Ward 1, because we want these folks to have a vested interest in helping us with this and keeping it clean, because that'll obviously be another issue. But, you know, I'm 2 blocks away, so this will be something that I can absolutely help keep a major eye on. And I would just love to see kiddos using that park again.
Well, there's been quite a bit of activity at the park, and the only request I really had from anyone that uses the park was a lady was sitting in her pickup one day and kids were playing, and I stopped to talk, and she said that she played in that park when she was a kid. She lives maybe in Wewoka, New Lima, or someplace like that. And so she brings her grandkids over to play in the park.
Oh, nice.
I asked her what she would like to see that's not there, and she said she'd like to see a slide. So what we think we can do is just take mounds of dirt, some, trees, that sort of stuff, tires, and make, you know, we can make a slide buried in a mound of dirt. That way they can climb up from any direction and they fall out of it, they just fall into the dirt. So we think that we can get it done cheaply and efficiently and it'd be something that would be safe and usable for a long time.
So thank you all very much.
Is there, could you get some kind of form or something where I guess you would take private donations to help y'all out with the funding?
Absolutely, and I mean, of course, we kind of figured that a lot of the funding would come from Larry and I mostly, because it's not like this committee or this council is a 501c3. That may be something that's in the future, but that really isn't even in the plan right now. So it'll kind of be just those who have a vested interest in Ward 1 that we could probably count on. I mean, we would welcome anything, but there would be no tax exemption benefit for anyone at this time.
I have some verbal commitments from people who have heavy equipment they could haul in where we need it. And I thought one of the things that might happen, of course, Mike's not here to talk with about it
Right.
tonight.
We were
But
gonna
one
talk
of the things that might happen is if there's dirt to be dumped, because there is a kind of a flooding issue in there, but we'd like to build some large mounds of dirt for kids to play on. And then we just sod them over. But anyway, that'd be the only cost to the city that I foresee.
Getting dirt being a cost for the city?
Well, if the city is like cleaning out ditches and creeks and things like that, they have to have a place to dump the dirt.
Right.
So we can haul it over there and dump it.
Yeah, typically we'll use clean dirt where children will play.
Oh, no.
Yes.
Okay.
We'll
See,
haul
that's
it.
an issue I hadn't thought about.
Not a problem, not a problem.
What about all that sludge we're bringing out of the?
Yeah, all the water tower sludge.
It'd make it nice and slippery for your slide.
Right, right.
We're gonna use that to level my yard with.
Oh, yeah, we wanted to talk about this with Mike first, but obviously he,
I can't keep my mouth shut.
right, that was the deal, he was supposed to wait to talk to Mike. So, I had something prepared.
These are the bosses. We do what they say, so.
Yeah.
Now, there's one other thing, Your Honor, if you
Jesus, I'm
could
sitting down.
take a little time to do this. There's a lot of, I've written this down so that I don't mess it up too badly, okay? So bear with me. But, I'm gonna get around to saying, first off, that I'm a Second Amendment kind of guy. I grew up with guns, I have guns, I've got guns, I've got guns. And, none of them are registered. So, and I'm not uncommon in that. Not that I have anything against registering, it just never has came up. But there's a lot of, always in the news, whenever there's a mass shooting or something like that, it gets deflected onto the mentally ill, which is a group that I'm prone to defend. So you get a lot of hyperbole about mass killings and who the perpetrators are. So since I've worked in the field for a long time, I've always known that it wasn't the mentally ill to blame, and that they're not the most prolific killers. So, but although it is well known that the United States has among the highest rated gun deaths per capita in all nations not hosting a war, if it is not the mentally ill who are responsible for the majority of mass murders and other gun deaths, who is it? And to find the answer, I just did what we all do, I started Googling. And 2017 was the most recent year for which I could find reliable statistics at the time I wrote this. And after that date, there's no reason to assume a significant change in numbers. In other words, I don't think anything's really changed significantly, it's all about the same rate. According to the Pew Research Center, there was 39,773 gun deaths in the United States that year, of which 60%, or 23,863, were suicides. 37%, or 14,717, were murders. 3% covered all the other things, like accidents and so forth. And of those 14,717 murders, I was astonished to learn that 159 people was all that was killed in mass killings. I would have thought it would have been a lot more with the news coverage. Let me say that again. 159 of the 14,717 people murdered with guns in the United States in 2017 were killed in mass murder shootings. Just as interesting, the best estimates tell us that 15 to 23% of all mass shooters in 2017 were believed to be mentally ill. So that means no more than 37 mass murder victims in 2017 could have been killed by a mentally ill person. Mass murderers, as a rule, tend to mostly be people who feel aggrieved and killed for revenge. It's, people got fired, even you hear it on the news all the time. He wasn't getting along with his boss or his co-workers or blah, blah, blah. So who kills the most people with guns in the United States? Turns out that most gun murders in the United States are honor killings occurring in the South. Honor killings are, say someone's fooling around with another person's spouse, and that person's spouse kills them both with a gun, or someone is publicly humiliated and kills the offender with a pistol or a gun, and having a car, whatnot. So in descending order, the states with the most gun deaths per 100,000 population in 2017 were number 1, Alaska, with 23.3 per 100,000. Then number 2, Alabama, 21.5. Louisiana with 21.3. Bear with me here. Number 4, Mississippi with 19.9, and we came in at Oklahoma at number 5, 19.6 per 100,000. Number 6 was Missouri. Number 7, Montana with 18.9. 8 was New Mexico with 18.1. Number 9 was Arkansas, 17.8. Number 10 was Carolina with 17.7. That's the top 10. Okay. The state that most people tell me they believe has the most gun deaths, when I ask them outright which state do you think it is Illinois. And I guess that's because of all of the shootings and murders in Chicago, and a few things on the news about that. Well, they're number 34. They have 12 per 100,000, where we have, what, 19.6? And the lowest in the nation is Massachusetts with 3.4 per 100,000 population. So blaming those with mental illness for the majority of mass killings or for misusing guns is misguided. That's my position on this. I think we can better serve our community by helping others learn to safely and effectively manage their grievances and insults to their honor, since that tends to be what most people are killing for, the reason behind it. So I think we, the citizens of Seminole, can begin this by teaching peace in our homes and in our schools. We teach all about violence and war, but not about peace. We can work together on this. Seminole can be the community in our state from which teaching peace spreads, and we'll all be better for it. People ask me about, when I mentioned this, but what is teaching peace? There's a fellow named Malcolm McCarthy, who was he's kind of a left-winger guy and a reporter for the Washington Post for years, and he interviewed people like Gandhi and Tutu and folks like that, and became interested in peace, and so he approached a high school, about the time he retired from the paper, to ask if he could teach courses on peace there, and he did. And it began to spread, and he's established a thing, now he teaches at universities and lectures, 87 years old, jokes are worse than mine, you know, he just reached that point in life. But he established the Center for Teaching Peace, and of course they've developed a little criteria and stuff like that. So with all that in mind, I'd like to make a motion that the City Council of Seminole, Oklahoma, stands in support of the promotion of peace in our community by encouraging our citizens to teach peace in their homes and by encouraging our schools to teach classes on peace as a regular part of their curriculum. I have talked with Mr. Hawthorne at Seminole Academy about this, and I've talked with our superintendent of schools at social meetings or whatever. And they think that it would be something worthwhile. Of course, we all have the same questions about how do you start, and when you start, things like that. But I'd like for us to go on record as a body of our city government to be in support of teaching peace in our city. Do I have a second?
Well, we can't vote on that. No, it would
Okay.
have to be put on next month's agenda
Okay,
to do that. But
okay. Well, I'd like to see it on the agenda for next month and have it written up in a proper way that, you know, makes sense.
As far as the classes goes, how do you, I mean, you're gonna have to work something through the Board of Education for the state, so what's the steps for that? Do we know?
I don't know, I have no idea. I don't know what the criteria is for establishing classes, whether that can be an extracurricular kind of thing or something that's just, but what I know that has happened in other areas is that they develop a criteria. Basically, this fellow Malcolm McCarthy has written a couple of books which are just anthologies of essays from people that, like Gandhi, or people who have been able to show and demonstrate and been successful at resolving conflicts peacefully.
Mm.
And it starts out with things like conflict resolution.
Right.
How do you get along with your peers? I mean, we really just have basically two areas that we can approach one another with. One is with our words. We can talk to people and try to work things out. We can do that. And then the other thing that comes up is violence.
Yeah.
So I think that we would benefit greatly if we could get that established in our community and come up with ways. I mean, y'all are smart people. I know you can come up with ways to promote that in our homes and in our schools.
We've got a great instructor. Michael Burnett could instruct at the school on keeping peace.
Good,
Uh,
be good.
So on the other side of that, one of the things that I'd like to bring up is I'd like to recognize our police chief for the work that he has done. I don't know if you're aware of the drop in our crime statistics since he's became our chief of police, but Chief Anson, can you kind of give us just a broad view of what's happened in the last few years?
We were, according to the OSBI report, OSBI does an annual report. Me and Steve were looking at this, what, about 3 months ago, 2 or 3
Yes.
months ago it came out. It was, in 2017, we were, the odds of somebody being a victim of any crime in the city of Seminole was right at 40 per thousand.
Right.
And we're right at 19.9 per thousand last year.
I think we should give a Chief a hand for that.
Absolutely.
Just to say, we've got a bunch of great officers here. It's not me. I'm not the one out patrolling. I just sit behind the desk mostly, but we've got a great bunch of officers that are that are proactive and are out there beating the streets at all hours of night to get those numbers where they are.
Well, it's the coach that makes the team perform.
Playing basketball with the neighborhood kids.
That always
Plus.
helps.
They beat me, by the way. I got beat by 8-year-olds.
I don't think you had to tell us that.
Hey, there were 4 of them.
Oh, all right.
Thank you
Thank you.
for affording me the time.
We'll move on to current business. Consideration and possible action to approve recommendation from the Seminole Swimming Pool Committee to locate a 5,000 square foot swimming pool with zero depth entry, open flume water slide, 3-lane lap area, diving boards, shade areas, and a bathhouse at the Rental Wellness Center with associated costs estimated at $1,900,000. I would say, one, before we move to approve something like this, I would think we would need to do item 2 and go gather more information about cost and what it's going to cost our citizens, and obviously we'll have to vote on this, and come up with that information before we would be able to really approve item 1.
Okay.
We
We have a
that's just
short
my opinion.
presentation. You guys have the benefit of having that in your packet, but I don't know that anybody else knows what we're looking at. If you don't mind,
Sure,
Mayor, I'd
that's
like
fine.
to let Sharon
Yeah, I'm moving.
speak just a second.
Me?
Okay, I got it. If you'll turn it on, I'll go. So our swimming pool committee met, and thank you. I think we've got a couple of members here. And Chris Anson also was present, and we had some really good discussion about the location and what all we wanted to see in the swimming pool. And so we ended up with the description that you see in front of you with the zero entry. In fact, they wanted to add one more slide, and they wanted to have a diving area as well. So the location is what you see on the slide there. That is a tentative location. I drove out there today, and Call Okie has done their job, and they flagged an electric line, an underground electric line right under the swimming pool. I don't think that relocation of that line is gonna be a big deal, and that was the only thing under the swimming pool. Now, that location may seem curious to you, but what we have learned through experience is that parking lots are very, very expensive. And, you know, by the time you build a swimming pool and then add a $600,000 parking lot on it, it becomes cost prohibitive. And so we thought perhaps a good idea would be to piggyback onto what the Reynolds Center has there and be able to provide a good, nice parking area and kind of keep you'll see the green area between the parking lot and the swimming area. That would likely be the entry point and the bathhouse. So I think we've got a pretty solid plan to go forward with. And here's one that was built. And Sharon, I don't remember is this Corinth?
Belleville, Kansas.
Belleville? Okay, so Belleville, Kansas built this about 1.8 million. And when our pool committee saw this with a few tweaks, they thought, hey, this is what we're after. Compared to some of the $5 million projects, this pretty much has everything the others have, just not in as much quantity. So we kind of took their recommendations and put the things in play, and that's where we're at. So we're ready to go to the item number 2, which is the engineering, but we wanted to put this to the council and say, before I go to I guess what I'm looking for in item 1 is direction. Obviously, we don't want you to nail it down to 1.9 or 3 swimming lanes or anything that specific. But when we go to the engineer, we need to be able to give them a field that they can play on and say, here's our site, here's what we're expecting, now show us something really neat. And I guess that's what we were after with item 1 was, here's the playing field we want you to go with. Now, if you want to do that in terms of dollars, we can certainly talk about that. If you want to do it in terms of features that you want to see in the swimming pool, we can do that as well. But I felt like, and I think the most of the swimming pool committee feels like this was well thought out, and I think everybody that was involved feels like they were heard, and pretty much this is what we would like to go forward with.
That area wouldn't interfere with SEDC's plans on what they have talked about.
No, sir. No, it's not part of the plan.
Well, we know features, just what attracts people there. It's not just the pool, but it's the additional features, like you said, slides and the other items that are there.
And the snack bar.
Yeah, the snacks, I think the plan, the tentative plan is to have Matt be over most of what's going on out there, and I think he's looking forward to the Speedo summer, and that may be an attraction as well.
All
You
colors.
charge double for that, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, here, let me just show you right now.
Swimming in a
No,
show.
I'll pay triple not to see.
Say again, this would be within the budget some way.
well, no, sir. This is, right now, all we're doing is investigating what can we get for the biggest bang for our dollar. Eventually, and you'll notice in item 2, we're asking for engineering and financial advising. How are we going to pay for this? I don't want to get too far out in front of those recommendations, but one option may be that we would put this to the voters for a general obligation bond, similar to what
Just
we.
breaking ground now. Just beginning.
Remind me how many people this pool holds, was it like 250, 300?
Yeah, it was
Is that
like
what you said?
I don't recall.
About 250.
Is there anywhere that, with this design that you got from Kansas, that states what the annual cost to have a pool like that up and running?
That's what the engineering's going to tell us.
That will be a lot less than what the other one was.
No question about that. It's a lot smaller, and the updated equipment plus the leaks that we've got, it's gonna be much, much cheaper than what we've got.
Absolutely.
The other one was costing us about 40 grand
More than that,
a year.
more than that, yeah.
So instead of like, I mean, we don't really want to pass building them like this is, we just want to give you an idea of what we want, a ballpark figure to try to see what they can give us.
Yeah, I guess what I'm asking for is direction. Is this kind of what you want to see, or you want it to be 10,000 square feet with 14 water slides and 5 more diving boards? Before I go to the engineering firm and say this is approximately, they may come up with a little bit different twist, but I'd kind of like to know in the realm what we're talking about, because like you've seen already in the study, that can range from $1.3 million with almost no amenities to $5 million and lazy rivers and all kinds of other things. So I think your swimming pool committee is saying this is approximately what we'd like to see, and I just want the council to say, yeah, that seems reasonable. Now go find out what it's going to cost. Sharon, this says bathhouse, but as I recall, it did not include the bathhouse in the 1.8.
This design, the way it was shown in the book that I had, was 1.7. I called Belleville, Kansas, and asked them what the actual cost was for the entire pool turnkey, and it's 1.89.
Okay.
With
That
the
included the
bathhouse?
bathhouse, yes.
That's nice. That's nice.
But the other thing we were looking at too is how many lifeguards, you know, and what we would need, was it 3 for this size?
Yes, 3 for this size.
So that's one more than what we normally used to have, correct?
No comment. Yeah, we're supposed to have 3.
Well, I'm surprised to see that we could contemplate something under $2 million. And it'd be nice as this appears. So, I'd say go ahead and.
Did they ever give us, based on our size and, I mean, did they ever give us a pool size that we really need? I mean, I know that never came up, but it just occurred to me. I mean, are we shooting at something that's gonna be too big for us or too small? You know, 'cause, you know, once you build something new, you tend to have a lot more people.
I don't know that we've ever had a needs estimate done for a pool.
Not,
Well, what was the?
it's almost impossible to do, Chris, because it's almost always amenity driven and speedo driven, of course.
I
But
can't imagine we ever have 8 people there during the day in the summer, but, you know, maybe a holiday weekend, you might switch it. I guess you just say, it gets that busy, you get the clicker out and count them, and then it saves more capacity.
I think you can go from history on that. What was the attendance the last few years the pool was open on average? Has anybody ever figured that?
not good.
I think usually like 25.
Yeah,
So
25
it's
to
not.
maybe 40 sometimes. But when you add these amenities, you're gonna have out-of-town traffic. It's gonna be more along the lines of what we see at the splash pad, which is a lot more than that.
And especially with the location.
Absolutely.
Who doesn't want to go to the wellness center?
That's right.
Well, not to mention like that housing addition right across the street, that's walking distance for most of those
Exactly.
kids. With parents that are right there across the street, and it's right down the road from
Great
emergency
point.
services. So,
I think with the committee has done their homework, and I don't know why we would do anything at this point but to go against the recommendation.
Okay,
It's a
So-
starting point.
we'll kind of go, I don't think we need any action on item 1, but item 2, maybe if you can authorize us to go forward, that'd be.
Well, since it's on the agenda, do we have to table it or something, or? Go on.
Take no action,
Okay.
you're fine.
All right. You need to vote on that, to take no action.
No, sir.
All right, moving on to item 2, consideration and possible action to approve city staff to proceed with soliciting financial and engineering services for the design and construction of a new public swimming pool, to include a financial advisor, bond counsel for funding options, and an engineering firm.
Move to approve.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Chris Anson,
Yes.
Dee Patterson.
Yes.
Larry Church,
Yes.
Tim Poplin.
Yes.
John Craig.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Well, how about if we move through our reports and then we'll move into executive session after that? So with reports, one of the things I would like to be able to continue to discuss and say is the fact that volunteers for our city is what makes our city, I think, so great. Without volunteers to do all the things, some of the things we've discussed tonight, committees and updating and beautifying our parks and all the other things that happen, Main Street, just, you go on and on. I think it's wonderful and great, and that's just another reason why I like to live in Cibolo. And you can make a big difference. We're a small town, but people volunteering can make a big difference relatively easily. And I want to thank everyone for doing that, and would ask that others might be willing to join in and help with the efforts. With that, move on to our city manager.
Yeah, I agree. There's a place for you to plug in. If you're willing, we've got a place. Speaking of that, I want to remind everyone that this Saturday, the 14th, We've got our chocolate festival and our first Main Street Christmas festival. And they've got a lot of fun things that are happening this weekend. And I hope that you'll come down and experience all that we've got to offer. The local flavor is going to be in full force. And hopefully you'll stick around for the parade. I think they're having it a little bit earlier this year, maybe 5:15. Does anybody remember?
Supposed to be 5.
5. So come early, stay late.
Steve, if I could add, I'm gonna be in my car at the front of the parade, because I have to get back to the church, so they really need to start at 5. I'm gonna have to leave early.
Yeah, okay, that's not gonna happen. Good thinking, though.
So we need to watch you from
Start
the
your
parade
car.
starts to the
Start moving
to
at
church,
5.
right?
He said, just
That's
give him
an
a
order.
ride.
Yeah, lights and siren and all.
There may be a gap between you and the second
There
car.
might be.
So I want to remind the council about our employee Christmas dinner this Friday at noon. Actually, I think we're going to start at 11. Is that accurate? Anybody know? When are you going to cook, Bate?
Show noon to cook.
I don't know.
All right, so,
He didn't know he was gonna cook.
yeah,
No, we got it prepped. I wasn't for sure.
Yeah.
I'd heard the 11 and the noon also.
I
so.
think probably kick it off about 11:30. If the council wants to come and be there around 11:30, we'll be very pleased to have you. You may have noticed, if you've been downtown area, that the Broadway overlay is finally complete. It looks great. We've obviously got concerns about speed and things like that, but at least the striping has been done. And we'll be trying to slow folks down and let them know that it's still the same speed limit. That's not a speedway, so.
May I make an observation about that? I noticed that there's a little rubboard effect in it just as soon as they finish laying it. And I don't know if I didn't notice that anywhere else, but my understanding of the rub boards is that once they get started, the tire goes over it and drops down, and then so I don't know if that's something that needs attention or.
Yes, I absolutely concur, and we will have ODOT be policing that, and it'll be corrected.
Okay. Thank you.
So, I think the high school grand opening has been moved to January 13th. Does that sound right?
Yes.
Okay. So be sure and show up for that. It's going to be a real community celebration. I want to thank real quick the Lions Club and the sponsors that show up to put on our light show. What a phenomenal thing to have in our community this size. It just blows my mind every year. And the upgrades on the lights are coming in. If you didn't know, we're refitting a lot of those lights from the incandescent type of light, which is much less bright, to the LED type that are better lasting, more durable, and much brighter. So it's going great. Along those lines, I want to just give a public thank you to Remington Westmoreland. Remington has been our man on the ground that has done all the renovations and done a fantastic job in the new building that you guys built for the displays. So good job, Remington. We are beginning our planning stage for a sidewalk that would go to Wilson School from Coolidge Street. If you're on Coolidge and you come up Walmart Hill and you come to the four-way stop and you start your way toward Wilson School, where that four-way stop is, it's very difficult for children to walk to school. And there's a bar ditch on either side of Van Drive. And so our plan initially is to look at constructing a walk area on the north side, and it's my opinion or my understanding that the parent-teacher organization is going to be going to the property owners on that north side of Coolidge and asking for an easement. So Brad has drafted an easement. Sean Carlisle has made a really neat map to show the property owners what is expected. And then from there, probably in the next budget year, we may ask the council to help. I think Claudia Willis has a Walk to Schools grant that she can probably tap into, so perhaps we get into a matching situation. But if you've been down that when the kids are trying to go or come home from school, you know it's a dangerous situation. We want to make sure that they're kept safe. The SSC baseball fields, we've received plans at City Hall for the baseball complex that is going to go out by the new high school. We do have a crew out there on occasion when they've got extra time helping with some of the tree removal and what we call it grubbing. And so it looks very nice already, and we're looking forward to seeing a lot more improvement coming up very soon. That's all I have.
Thank you. City Attorney? All right, we'll move on to Ward 1. Bill's not here. Larry's already talked, so we'll move, no, Larry.
I'll allow that with a short. Women and girls, single parent homes need our support. Our best investment is there. Thank you.
Ward 2, John Kramer. Ward 3, Tim Poplar.
Nope, other than Wonderland, man, it's pretty. Great job, all those people that's put in their time. Good. Thank you.
Ward 4, Chris Hansen. Ward 4, Dee Dee Patterson.
The west fencing at the cemetery is great.
Looks wonderful.
So that's a big improvement. Thanks for all the help on that.
Yeah, it's effective too. I haven't seen anyone crawl out of there.
Also, the water tower that we still have junior college instead of state college.
Yes, sir.
Is there any way that we can change that?
Yes, there is a way. It's a very expensive way, but perhaps in this.
You might look into that.
Yes, sir. In the study that we're going to get back, I'm almost positive that they're going to ask for repainting on several of the towers, and they allow us to choose what we want on the tower.
All right, thank you. I do want to say about Snowland Wonderland, I was working Sunday night, and we had 253 people come out. We had groups from, I believe it was Stroud, and we had, from around different areas, not just from Seminole. I had 4 people from Houston that were here visiting, but they wanted to come over. But there was, it's amazing, the people that show up, where they're from, and how they talk about that. It's just a great thing. And Steve came back with that thought, hey, we need to do something when he went to Chickasha. And so thank you, Steve, and all those that have worked to make it what it is today. All right, with that, we'll move to our executive session. So first, consideration and possible action to enter into executive session under Oklahoma statute.
That's pretty close.
Title 25, Section 307.B.1. Discussing the employment, hiring, appointment, promotion, demotion, discipline, the resignation of any individual, salary, public officer, or employee, fire chief. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
One last thought. Don't forget to get with Matt and buy your Christmas wreath.
Amen, they are beautiful.
They are beautiful and they smell fantastic. You'll feel a lot more Christmas after you buy a wreath.
I'll deliver for Wellness Center.
That's the other stuff.
20 for the small, 20 or 30.
Go ahead and hold that up.
Smells it. This is it.
Right.
Water was
That's
so
right.
cold in my
See,
ears.
you gotta let it cure to you. You gotta let it cure.
Executive session. Is that all?
Thank you.
Yes, I'll take it.